Pachygalosaurus. Despite being first on the list, this hybrid actually hasn't been released quite yet, but I included it and two other creatures on the list to keep it accurate for the near future. This is a really exciting one as the Reef class barely gets any attention in the game, and it's a welcome addition because of that. It's a fuse between the Piranha-like Gillicus and the weirdly named Dilophoboa. Glyphthrone Axe. This is a weird fuse and release in February 2020, as it was the first cross between a Jurassic creature and a Cenozoic one. This is a mix between a Glyphthrone Axe and the Glyphtodon, making it into a massive dino with armor, specifically a hard outer shell and feathered hairs. This is still the only hybrid like it, besides two that are mixed between aquatic and Jurassic, one of which will be later on the list. Zalmonodon. Honestly just a really cool pterosaur as it has a weirdly simplistic hybrid look, besides the beak and colorful nature. Released only a few months after our last entry in May 2020, it also is a cross with the tournament herbivore Zalmonodon, which is a pretty cool name, and of course the Pteranodon. Zalmonodon is just a pretty great hybrid, nothing more, nothing less. It's almost the most powerful too, besides two others on the list. Secodontognathes. Another of the leaked hybrids not yet in the game. This one I'm not as excited for, but it has decent stats, and has this creepy design. Just those darker colors and massive teeth. It's made by crossing the Scapsonophagus and the Secodontosaurus, which is a combination I really wouldn't have expected. The stats for it are weird though, as it should have been better health ratio, but it still looks unique design wise. Megarchelon. Not only is this a cool idea for an aquatic hybrid, but it's flat out one of my favorites. Mixing the already awesome looking Megalodon with a shell texture is visually appealing as hell, and this is done because the other creature it fuses with is the Archelon, one of my personal favorite creatures ever in Jurassic World The Game. It's almost tied with the other surface hybrid too. Oh, and it was released in August 2019. Dunkleosaurus. This here is the most powerful aquatic creature in the game, at least for now. Released in November 2018, it's also the largest in terms of size. It's a Mosasaurus of course, mixed in with the Dunkleosaurus, in order to give it badass armor. So not only is it massive and deadly, but it's highly protective against enemies. Dunkleosaurus just has a very satisfying design, and deserves to be the best aquatic creature Jurassic World The Game has to offer. Xenosaurus. While it is powerful, this hybrid's design is honestly kind of disappointing to me. It could have looked awesome, being a fuse between the Xenosaurus and the Therizinosaurus, but instead it's this large-headed weirdo with claws that should have been bigger. While the design might not have been inspired, it still has some impressive stats for a creature of this level, and it was released in March 2018. Metriothodon. This is the closest a creature's attack is to their health, which is good since it has a lot of attack. It almost has the most out of any other creature in the game. Almost. Released in January 2017, it mainly takes after one creature, the Dimorphodon, those weird large-headed pterosaurs from the first Jurassic World movie, and to make it a tournament hybrid, it's fused with the Metriothodon, who is known for having more attack and less health. Pachygalosaurus. This creature actually has the largest amount of health in the entire game. However, that does mean its attack isn't as great as some other dinos of its power level. Pachygalosaurus is also the first hybrid on this list to be made up of two tournament creatures, that being Megalosaurus and Pachyrhinosaurus. Released in March 2018, it has this oddball design and a T-Rex-like body with an armored head. Iguana Suchus. This is actually a more recent herbivore hybrid released in February 2022, and I got it as soon as it came out, as the Iguanodon is one of my personal favorite normal tournament creatures. You match it with the Glyphthrone to make an amphibious herbivore just like the Xenosaurus. While I wish we got a new amphibian hybrid instead, I still really like what Iguanosuchus brought to the table. Scorpius Rex. Specifically based off the Netflix series Camp Cretaceous, this hybrid was introduced in October 2021, a few months after Season 3 aired. That was when this thing showed up, a prototype of the Indoraptor, but the game was creative in what it fused to make it. Instead of using another Velociraptor, they used the Iguanosuchus and the Albertosaurus, which did the trick just fine. Scorpius Rex also has one of the most unique animations in the entire game. Dressoceratops. Released in August 2021, this is another more recent addition to the game. It's a really strong hybrid of a bizarre design. Think of it as a Pachygalosaurus but more robust. It's made by crossing the more powerful second version of the Triceratops and the Dressoceratops, which is pretty similar to the Stygimoloch. It would be cooler if a few other more powerful herbivore hybrids didn't come out before or after it though. Bagehesaurus. This is actually the most recent creature on our list, releasing literally a week before this video comes out, in May 2022, and as one fans of the game have been anticipating. Finally we get another tournament amphibian hybrid other than Iguanosuchus, who happens to be one of the weakest that the category has to offer. It's a fuse between two newer creatures that were released during March Madness, Dilophoboa and Bagehesaurus. It has a really nice crocodilian-like design too. Chromaspinus. This badass actually came out only a few weeks after the Dressoceratops in August 2021, and I prefer this one a lot more than that. Not only is it part Spinosaurus, but it glows, goddammit. A purplish glow that's honestly really mesmerizing to look at. Not only is it part Spino Gen 2, but also part Parasaurolophus Gen 2, and that creature is what gives this carnivore its bioluminescence. That Gen 2 was also seen in Camp Cretaceous. The Boa. Out of all the entries on this list, this is my personal favorite, and it counts as many things. The most powerful Cenozoic hybrid, the most expensive creature in the D-Day market, and the coolest name ever. Released in May 2021, it can be only made by crossing the Dilophosaurus Gen 2 with the Titanoboa, the largest snake ever, but now this thing is the largest while being able to spit harmful venom. Untitled. Since being released in October 2017, this was at one point the most powerful creature in the game, only being beaten out by our last two entries, and it was the most powerful tournament hybrid for 3 years, simply because it was made of Utyrannus and Metriothodon, two fierce carnivores in their own right, and it has the most accurate feather design for a dinosaur, which looks satisfying. Caprodactylus. This is the elite hybrid I'm surprisingly most hyped for. It crosses some of my favorite tournament creatures to fight with, that being two Pandactylus and the Caprodactylus Gen 2, which both came out a little over a year ago. It actually has a creepier design than the Secodonthanathus, which better stats to boot. By default, it's the best pterosaur in the game. I was honestly hoping for it to come out before this video so I can get footage, but I'm not that patient. Armamata. The single most powerful tournament hybrid in this game, along with being the best herbivore. It came out 3 years after Untitled in November 2020. I do think it could have been better design-wise, however. The idea of a Mosasaur Gen 2 and Nodosaur hybrid sounds badass, but this is kind of uninspired. It's just a slightly remodeled Nodosaurus with a slight fin and tail added. Oh, and it gets more tan in color with the evolution. Not the worst though. Indoraptor. What else could be higher on the list than the uniquely designed Indoraptor seen in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom? Seen in the June 2018 update for the game, this is considered a super hybrid. That's because you take an already existing hybrid and mix it with super DNA, Velociraptor SNA to be precise, and that hybrid is the Indominus Rex, the main dino of the first Jurassic World. Indoraptor Gen 2. Finally, the only thing more powerful than the Indoraptor is another Indoraptor. This one has better stats and more striking colors. It was released exactly 2 years later from the original, with the same idea, but instead of being a mix between the original Indominus, it's the Gen 2 version. Both of these guys are around the same in power level, but this one just barely makes it as the best in the game has to offer.